Hi everyone, and welcome to this video on the pennies and shilling channel. Now, I often get asked what specific coins are worth. In two previous videos, I covered the factors that make a coin valuable, as well as how to generically determine a coin's value using various resources, such as online auction sites, grading company websites, etc. I do realize, however, that people are busy, or maybe you just want to make sure of the value. So in this video, I'm going to cover the specific values and key dates of the South African second decimal coins, also known as the nickel coin series. Now, I'm well aware that I'm going to step on toes, so take these values as the amount that I would deem fair for my own transactions. Exceptions could occur for exceptional coins, so give some leeway either way. Now, the second decimal series was introduced in 1965 and it had a reign of about 25 years. It is really an interesting set with a rich history. For example, it's the only set that boasts pure nickel coins, and some of the coins are really hard to come by. It's also the first set that was designed solely and entirely by South African artists. The list goes on. It is really very much collectible. Now let's have a look at some specific coins. The half cent has an interesting story. Between 1965 and 1969, none were minted. And during this time, the half cent of the first decimal series was still in use. Due to demand, a new half cent was minted from 1970 onwards. If you pick up any second decimal half cent, it will most probably be a 1970 half cent. Over 45 million of the 1970 alone were minted. And except if you find a very beautifully toned, uncirculated 1970 half cent, it's worth face value. Its copper content is worth about 25 cents, but since, believe it or not, it's still legal tender, it's illegal to melt it down. And it's not worth the trouble anyway. The years 1971 to 1979, it's probably worth around 5 rand in uncirculated condition. Next, the humble 1 cent coin, with the 2 Cape Sparrows on the reverse. The only coin in the world with a biblical reference as the motif. For circulation coins, the only key date here is the 1965, both Afrikaans and English. The English variant is somewhat rare, but it's still more common than the Afrikaans one. The Afrikaans 1 cent ranges from about 3,000 rand in extra fine to around 5,000 rand in uncirculated condition. A graded coin in high mint state would easily fetch 10,000 rand or even more. The more common English variant varies from around 500 rand to about 2,000 rand for a nice specimen. Be careful though, as the proofs are plentiful and usually sells for far less. All other dates from 1966 until 1989 are technically worth face value. An uncirculated coin or a coin with a unique toning could possibly fetch up to 10 rand maybe, but even that is a stretch. Just to give you an idea of how many of these coins were minted, if you could stack all the 1 cent pieces of this series on top of one another, the tower would be 3,746 kilometers tall, give or take. That's taller than the Drakensberg from sea level. By the way, of this stack, the Afrikaans 1 cent would contribute only 1.6 meters. Now, the 2 cent coin is the easy one. Here, all of them are worth about 5 rand in uncirculated condition. And I'm talking in a really good uncirculated condition. So completing your collection of uncirculated 2 cent coins could potentially cost you far less than 300 rand. Now, except for the 1989, each year, millions of the 5 cent coins were minted and are therefore easy to come by. They are worth about 5 rand in uncirculated condition, including the 1989, and I'm talking about a really good specimen. The 1966 English and 1969 English, possibly slightly more, let's say 10 rand. It is therefore also quite easy to complete your second decimal uncirculated 5 cent collection. The Hearns catalogue lists the 1966 Afrikaans 10 cent as worth about 60 rand in uncirculated, with all the other coins ranging from around the 10 rand mark for a top condition coin. For the 20-cent coin, only the 1969 English is a bit trickier to come by with a relatively low mintage figure. If you can find this coin in uncirculated condition, you can expect to pay around 150 Rand for the coin. All the other coins are worth about 10 Rand in, again, uncirculated condition. The earlier ones perhaps slightly more. The 1965 English 50-cent coin marks the first true key date. The 1965 English is practically unobtainable. A proof or a proof-like coin would be worth 80,000 Rand or more. Business strikes should technically not even exist. The Afrikaans 1965 50 cent is also quite valuable, with the proofs going for around 200 Rand and the business strikes for a good condition one about 1,000 Rand. The other years are worth around 5 to 10 Rand each, depending on the condition. The 1967 Afrikaans and 1969 English are notable exceptions and worth about 200 Rand in a tip-top condition. From 1965 until 1976, the South African 1 Rand coin consisted of 80% silver. So regardless of its condition, it's at least worth its bullion value. That is around 120 Rand today. An uncirculated specimen should reach around 200 Rand. Now the Afrikaans 1965 1 Rand is of course another key date, with mintage figures of between 85 and 120. Expect to pay 20,000 Rand or higher. The English one is much easier to get, and around 600 Rand to 800 Rand is fair here. Two notable variants here are the pregnant Springbok and the tag year Springbok. The pregnant Springbok only occurs in the 1966 Afrikaans 1 Rand coin, and only two are known. The pregnant Springbok looks like this and not like this. Since only two are known, it's difficult to estimate a value here. Be very careful, as online auctions are littered with fraudsters or possibly uninformed people trying to scam people with so-called pregnant Springboks. The tag year Springbok also occurs with the 1966 1 Rand and is more readily available. Depending on condition, they are worth around 200 Rand to 500 Rand per coin. From 1977 onwards, the 1 Rand coin was made from nickel, and literally millions of these were struck. They are worth about 10 Rand in a really good condition. In most cases though, much less. A coin in this condition, which I would say is very fine at most, it's worth face value. As I said in the beginning, these evaluations are just my opinion. It's heavily influenced by the Hearns 2021-2022 catalogue, as well as what I see happening on online auctions. I urge you to do the same. Watch auctions and keep note of any successful transactions. Remember though that auctions with no sales don't count. Now you may be disappointed with your coins, thinking that they should have been worth more. Don't be. As Francois Malan points out in his book, History of the Nickel Coins of South Africa, the second decimal series is often referred to as the Cinderella of South African coins, and are oftentimes quite underappreciated. It's really a collectible set, with many variants like the pregnant Springbok or the tag year 1 Rand, and unique historic coins which are quite obtainable. The pattern pieces comes to mind here. Keep an eye out and see how many you can collect. Thank you for watching, and happy collecting.